grabs my wrist firmly, starts spinning ferociously in a circle, and he chucks me into the lake as hard as he could. And, I'm drowning. Hello and welcome, guys. You made it. You're here for another episode with your boy, Jimmy, Slim Jim Jammer out of Brooklyn. If you enjoy the show, make sure that you like, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notifications bell so that you are informed every time we got a new episode of the show coming out. You're gonna have the inside scoop on my guy. It's gonna be very good for you. Trust me, it's nice, it's good. Today we're talking about the Boy Scouts. That's right, your boy was Boy Scout. This was the thing I think they did. I don't know. I wasn't very dedicated as a scout, and I had a lot of strangely traumatic times in the Scouts, as I'm sure a lot of other people have had. Anytime that you enter a paramilitary youth organization, things are bound to get a little bit funky. If you know what I'm talking about there, my guy. Now, as I've mentioned many times before, I'm from Brooklyn. I was a Cub Scout in Brooklyn as a kid, and later I went on to be a Boy Scout, even back in the early aughts. There were very few people that were actually interested in Boy Scouts. We had a very small troop. Just a couple lads. Even fewer wanted to be seriously involved. As I mentioned, I felt sort of coerced, sort of influenced to do it by my father at the time. You're gonna learn all sorts of hunting skills. You're gonna get all sorts of good stuff. Yeah, you can learn how to kill. Ended up going off to Boy Scout camp overnight. The Boy Scout camp was not a full summer deal. Just a couple of weeks. Camp Yagoog, up in Rhode Island. And when I went to Boy Scout camp, the reality of this idea that I was in a paramilitary organization sunk in a little bit more. When we first did arrive out to the camp, we weren't staying in cabins. We weren't quite staying in tents. We were staying on these wooden decks, pallets that just had wooden bunk beds with tarps inside of them that you put like a sleeping bag on top of. But they were totally open. And I remember many nights when we were out there hearing all sorts of animals and things that were creeping by in the night. I don't know what it was that we did hear, but we definitely heard some dog-sized animals out there. Raccoon, maybe? I don't know. There was a cavalcade of bugs, more bugs than I'd ever come into contact with. Because we weren't in a tent, and we weren't in a cabin, and we were just out on this deck, sleeping out there. And it was summer, so it wasn't cold, but the bugs were with you. I did not have a bug net. Every single morning I woke up, just so many bugs in my sleeping bag. I was peeling daddy long legs off my face. And by the end of a couple of weeks, I didn't even think about it. Every night I would go into my sleeping bag and I'd be shaking the thing out, trying to get all the bugs out of it before I got into it was the concept. But a million would creep in every morning, and again, even after just a couple of weeks, I was conditioned to not care.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
Wake up and just bugs off my face, ready for battle. It wasn't battle, we were doing somewhat kid stuff. Making bow and arrow. Learned how to do archery, and I became obsessed. And the archery range used to open at like 6 in the morning, and no one else used to go out there, so I would wake up really early and get to the archery range when it would open. I'd be the only one out there. And I practiced every day for hours and hours, till by the end of the few weeks that I was there. And I'd done this after a couple of years. I'd gotten to the point where I could hit a bullseye every so often. That's right, it happened. It happened in front of people every so often. Now, as I told you before, I liked the archery, and there were things that I enjoyed about being in the Scouts. Getting out to nature every so often was not so bad because I grew up in the city, but I wasn't serious. I had a lot less badges, just didn't apply myself. And I didn't understand that there was, I guess in the same sort of military sense, like, no man left behind. For other people to advance in rank, at one point I needed to advance. Like, they weren't allowed to advance any higher if anyone in their troop was lower than a certain rank. So they were like, you gotta rank up or we can't rank up. And there was this pressure put on me to get to this next rank that I wasn't ready for. And there was one thing that was truly holding me back. Did not know how to swim. That's right. It's your boy. It's your boy that we all know and love. He could not swim. No. and I hadn't really attempted it, mostly because of my fear of drowning. See my video, where I go into detail about why I think swimming is ridiculous. I don't think I even mentioned in that video that now I believe, technically, I do know how to swim, although I haven't put it to the test in a long time, because of the trauma associated with this next story I'm about to tell you. So I needed to learn how to swim was the idea, and we had by such and such amount of time to get this done. There was an advancement ceremony, and if we're gonna get our badges and everyone's gonna get ranked up, I gotta do it by this certain time. So they wanted me to go to learn how to swim when there wasn't other people around, I guess, to lower the pressure. And again, it's similarly what feels like a military sense. Anytime that you needed to get something done when you didn't feel like you had time to do it, you did it at like 6 a.m. So we woke up at 6 a.m. and we get straight down to the lake, and it's just me and my troop master, who was a little tiny guy, big bushy beard, but he was very proud of that beard because he shaved his cheeks so he didn't look like a complete chipmunk. It was shaped to some degree. We get out to the lake. I don't know how to swim. There has been no lesson. There's been no telling of what I should be doing as far as swimming. I have my trunks on, and I'm out there with this troop master who has his trunks on. And we walk out to the end of the dock, and we look out into the water, and he just says, "Are you ready?" If you've watched any of my videos before, or you know me, you know I wasn't ready. There was no way I was ready. I was less than ready. I'm there, panic-stricken. He says, "Are you ready?" And what do you do in a situation where there's social convention and you're a child and an adult asks you a question? You go, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm totally ready. Born ready." He grabs my wrist firmly, starts spinning ferociously in a circle, and he chucks me into the lake as hard as he could. And I landed in the lake maybe 10 foot off the dock. And then I proceed to go beneath the surface of the water. And, I'm drowning, and he's there, and his arms are folded, and he's just staring at me. And I'm like, "Help! Help me! Help me!" And, he's not helping. He's not jumping in the water. I decided in that moment that I didn't want to die. It didn't seem as though he was going to save me. The dude was totally emotionless and very dry-witted, and he was incredibly difficult to read, this troop master character. So I decided in that moment that I didn't want to die. I said, "I'm going to live. I guess I'll just try to swim back to the dock." And I attempted to swim back to the dock, and I panicked, and I just imitated what I'd seen people do in TV and movies as far as swimming. And I swam back to the dock. And then he goes, "Now you know how to swim." As I got back to the dock. And that was the end of the lesson. I was traumatized. Apparently, he thought I had learned. We go back. He goes, "Are you ready for this examination now in front of all these other adults and stuff that are used to traumatizing youth?" I, of course, was not ready. I went to this exam. I attempted to do what I had done to save myself from dying, to save myself from humiliation in this situation, and I passed the test. It wasn't incredibly hard. I had to swim back and forth across a pool a couple of times or something. I don't know. Yeah, Boy Scouts. When I was a kid, I was also in Cub Scouts. Who, of course, was my leader of my Cub Scout troop? My father. That's right. Couldn't be the coach of my Little League team because I didn't have one. I only did baseball one summer in camp. What up, But anyway, my father, he was Cub Master of my small Cub Scout troop. And almost everything that my father used to sign us up for, as far as events that we would do, were always charity. My man was always into the big charity events. So we would do the canned food drive. We also used to collect the old Christmas trees after Christmas time, bring them to the wood chipper in Prospect Park. We do that every year. It was a sticky event. All that sap on your manos. I really used to enjoy that, though. Got to chuck these old trees around. That was kind of funny. One year, the mayor of New York City came to thank us for disposing of the trees. Just so happens that when I was a kid, the mayor of New York City was Mayor Rudy Giuliani. We met Giuliani. He's a big guy. He's got a big head, giant head. And I remember I shook hands with him, and I knew he was the mayor at the time, and I had never heard of the guy before. I was too young to know or care at the time. And after I shook hands with the mayor, I was very proud of shaking hands with someone that was famous. I remember that the glove that I had, that I shook hands with the mayor, I was like 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. I took that glove, and I put that glove on my shelf, and I was like, this is This is the glove that shook the famous person's hand. Maybe a year or two later, there was a situation where Giuliani was definitely showed in a different light to me. He was coming back from a trapping convention. And when I say I was coming back from a trapping convention, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out one of my trapping convention videos that I will link right over here for you. Coming back from a trapping convention, and we were driving down from upstate New York and coming down through the Bronx. And we get into a big traffic jam, giant traffic jam, absolute crawl. If you've driven to New York City before, I'm sure you've hit one of these unbelievable traffic jams that comes out of nowhere. It doesn't matter what time. It was like 4 in the afternoon or something. No, it must have been earlier because we were in this traffic jam for actually 3 or 4 hours. Just getting down from the Bronx through Harlem. It's like 3 or 4 hours. And the nature of how packed we were onto this road and where we were going, there was no other place to go. Had to go this way. And everyone had kind of was getting funneled in. And I remember that I was trying to figure out what was going on. My father was trying to figure out what was going on. And once he did, as we were getting towards the front of the line of cars and stuff, I said, Dad, what is going on over here? You know, he sees that the police are stopping and pulling over cars and asking them for their license and registration. And I said, yeah, Dad, what's going on over here? My father goes, oh, this is Giuliani right now. I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, this is the mayor. And what this is, my boy, is racism. As you can see, they're pulling every car that gets over to the front, and they're asking for their license and registration. And when we get to the front of the line, they're going to wave us by. And they're not going to stop us. And the reason is because there's only stopping people with dark skin. I was too young to really get it. And I remember saying to my father, as we're getting towards the front of the line, I said, but Dad, I got darker skin than you. So when you say dark skin, does that mean that they're going to stop us if they see me in the front with you? And he goes, good thinking, duck. And I ducked down underneath so I could hit my head under the dash as we get to the front when the police were looking at our car. And just as sure as he said, we get to the front of the line as they're pulling over. They pulled over every other vehicle, the one in front of us, one behind, every other one. And as we get to the front, they look at us in the front, and the guy just waves us by, and on we go. And I remember I got home from that, and I went and I took that glove that I had from Giuliani, and I threw it in the trash. And in retrospect, the guy has done not so much recently to re-earn my trust. One last thrilling adventure was we used to do the pinewood derby. Pinewood derby? Pine box derby? Pine box? Pinewood? I don't know. Something to that effect. We used to race small wooden cars. We would carve these cars, we would sand them down, and we'd use power tools, and my father would bring out the drills and the things, and we'd get our cars set, and then we'd go and we'd compete against other troops, you know, of Cub Scouts in Brooklyn at this big event where all the Cub Scouts would meet. Like I don't remember how often it used to happen, but every so often there'd be these big events where we'd meet with all the other Cub Scout troops and compete against them. And we were absolutely like the most ragtag bum group of Cub Scouts that there was. We're always like out of uniform and coming in late, just very haggard. But one year we're like, yeah, we'll win it this year. We'll win some medals at that Pinewood Derby. All we gotta do is cheat. Our master plan was to cheat that year, and we did. One thing you can't add to your car is anything metal, no weights. So what did we do? We added weights, baby, very many metal weights. We were like, well, if they say that you shouldn't add metal weights, then that's probably the best way to cheat your way to victory. We didn't really know what was the best way to win. So we said probably weights, because it's banned. So we added metal weights to our car. Sherry shit, we was first place. We made sure to not do it in every race because, you know, you can't, that's too much suspicion to be thrown on you. The key was we just got some tape. We would put a divot in the bottom of the car and we'd shave it out so you could put quarters, tape them on the bottom. And then when as soon as the race is over and you grab your car back, you gotta yank them up, get them quarters off. I don't know how much refereeing is going on right now, but if you want to cheat at the Pinewood Derby, my guy, I got ways, I got coins, we got Scotch tape, we can make it work, you know? You could be going home with a children's trophy, my guy, trust me. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Bringing you new content every single week with me, your boy, Jimmy out of Brooklyn, Slim Jim Jim. Make sure that you like, subscribe. See you next week there, my guy.